Just a quick introduction. So I'm David Smith. I'm a design manager on the innovation team in Cairn Homes, and my colleague Jakub.
I'm Jakub Urbanczyk. I'm digital construction manager with Cairn. And I suppose today, today what we're going to present is how how standardization and MMC allows us to build housing for the country at scale. A brief introduction to Cairn. We've been in the business in 10 years. We actually had our 10-year anniversary in June this year. And as you can see on the slide, we've been noticing a significant increase in the output of our housing units year on year. So it's on average, it was 32% year on year since 2020. And such a scale, such a growth really require us to innovate how we build, implement new methods of construction, and innovate our design guides. So really, if we can move to the next slide, we're going to discuss how our, innovation standardization complements MMC and the other way around.
So just to kind of touch on that, so obviously Cairn starting in 2015, right from the get-go, we were involved in adopting MMC across the bathroom pods, precast columns, SFS systems, timber frame kits, and that has kind of progressed towards implementing standardization in the toolkit, phase one of that, and kind of progresses on from that, which Jakub will touch in.
Yeah, and that's really that breaking point where we've noticed that in order to scale our product innovation, methodologies innovation, we also need to invest in the digital innovations, and that's where our standardization toolkit comes in, our technical library and digital design toolkit most recently. So just on the standardization, I'm going to start with our four really pillars of standardization. The first one is in the business Dynamics 365. What it is essentially a digital platform, which is really our stock hub. So this is where we track every single unit that we deliver across the different stages of construction, and we layer additional information about that unit. So it really starts the very early pre-construction through construction, sales, and then aftercare. And this system creates a digital backbone for our business and really defines how we operate. The second element is design toolkit, which I'll explain briefly later. David will touch on our technical design library and explain what it is, and we're going to finish with a digital design toolkit, so that's going to be explained fully. But just to touch on design toolkit, which was our first iteration, what it really is, it's a combination of three elements. The first element is a standardized set of typologies and design drawings for our houses and apartments and duplexes. The second element is really a library of details that we release on our projects and that we work with our architects to develop. And the third component is a component library. And that really ties in with our innovation strategy of how we implement MMC on sites.
So kind of touching on from that, just talking about how standardization enables us to use MMC within Cairn. So touching back to the technical design library from what Jakub discussed there. So that platform allows us to build at speed, and the sustainability benefits with standardized systems, etc. We're saving on waste, etc. Associated with various errors and design errors. We have ease of compliance because we know exactly what's going out from day one, and it's across all of our sites. And the skilled labour efficiency, and then below that, just kind of highlighting a couple of the issues which are out there if standardization wasn't implemented in Cairn, and how the technical design library deals with those. So with the 7 categories of MMC, it's just, if we note there across the bottom, you'll see Cairn has a touch point in every single one of those at the minute, right across. And what I'm going to do today is with time being of the essence, I'm just going to touch on number 2 and 3 with off-site manufacturing. So I'm going to focus in on timber frame houses and a couple of our standardized balcony and canopy systems that we've implemented across all of our developments. So starting off with a partnership with Extreme Balconies. What we were doing before, we kind of started standardizing everything in the business. We were coming onto design projects where we would have 30 to 100 different balcony setups across a large apartment scheme. Obviously not efficient and not an effective way to build at scale. So through the standardization process with the technical library, we were able to reduce those down to 3 to 5 balconies across our large apartment developments with Extreme Balconies, going from these down in the bottom left, the traditional ways to do it, and in the top right, what we're doing on our developments now. And just in the top right there, you'll see this allowed us to install 52 balconies in a single day on one of our developments, where before that you're talking about single-digit installs. And from that, a couple of benefits. You have obviously improved quality control on the systems because you're standardizing that right through the build process. And if we move then on to say timber frame and tying in with Fast House, another one of our partners, and the structuralized panel system, if we kind of walk through the process that Fast House and other timber frame companies utilize with our standard design toolkit, we have our standardized drawings that feeds directly into their BIM models that they're using for production, and from that, so you've got 2 stages and directly into production. And then from that, we're able to get accuracy in ordering and waste reductions. And then from that, we can then tie that into BIM models, which Jakub will touch on later on, and how the digital toolkit ties back into that piece. If we look at Fast House as an example, they have a 7-stage process from design to construction. And when we kind of introduced the technical design library, we were able to basically remove the first 4 sections because design and approval wasn't needed anymore, because we had a standardized design right from the start. It was approved design in-house, and we were able to just implement that straight on and cut the build time and construction time of the modules in half right from the get-go. And this is happening across all our timber manufacturer partners as well. And then finally, if we just look at another partnership we have with Barracan, who are a small company at the start, developing canopies all around Ireland, and we kind of sat down with them and walked through how we could standardize what we were doing before. We had numerous trades on different sites, different quality of designs, etc. So what we did was we had a standardized we had a long canopy and a small canopy for different house types, and we were able to standardize that and work through with Barracan to basically reduce the construction time, improved health and safety because we have no trades on site. I'll show you now a quick example of how that's installed. Waste savings, obviously, because it's standardized, no iterations and issues on site on the install, and quality control is a big piece. We know exactly what we're getting because it's manufactured off site. And just quickly, that kind of process we go through on a lot of our standardized pieces with partners, right through from feasibility to concept, right through to construction, where MMC kind of sits in that space and the various stages. So we have our initial designs done up. It's standardized in the second one there, standardized set of drawings. We then test it in our innovation center we have in 7 Mills, benchmark it, and then the final one is actually the install. So it's a robotic machine that comes in, brings it onto site, hoists it up, and installs it onto pre-installed steel connection pieces, and the flashing is just brought down, and that's it. It takes 6 minutes to install a canopy. So a great product offering from ourselves in Barracan. And I'll give you back to Jakub to go through the digital design kit.
Yeah, so really we've firsthand experienced the advantages and benefits MMC brings to our business and increases our efficiency. And have in mind our standardization from the past, we've decided to push the boundaries of it. And this is where we've decided to introduce Digital Design Toolkit. Really, I'm going to unpack it step by step and what Digital Design Toolkit is and how it complements MMC, really with the first component being our library. This is a library of standard components that we use across our scheme. So you can see there's some shower trays, some standard kitchen sizes, canopies as well, balconies as well are visible there. And so we're to an extent of build, but we're also expanding the library of components that we reuse on our sites. We also, I'm going to actually back, we also include a metadata into every component. So we are creating additional kind of design digital backbone of the business with the metadata. Further, those components are collated into our standardized, and these can be houses, these can be duplexes, apartments, or townhouses. And we produce a standard drawing how a house of such typology should look like, and what can change or what cannot change to maintain the efficiency on site. That is then complemented by a configurator software. And what a configurator software is, it stitches together components, housing units or apartment units, and our best practice standard drawings, puts it together to produce a standard block model. And that standard block model, thanks to the configurator and how it's all set up, has automated production of standardized drawings. So we've identified a set of core drawings that we want to have standardized. These may include ground floor plans, reflected ceiling plans, facade sections, and we've automated production of that. And a toolkit like this has been released in 2025 on our schemes with very positive feedback. What we're really doing with the toolkit, instead of on drawing the same house over and over again on 4 different developments or many other developments, we're picking the best practices from our standardized drawings and putting it into a single one that we would like to look and feel the same no matter which development we go to. And so what we're really getting out of it is we obviously can make decision very, very early in the design process, because we know from the early stages what we want exactly, and we can really control the changes. Previously we would have a lot of uncontrolled changes that may have negative impact on the schedule or the cost of the project. Now with the toolkit we can control that, we can see what changes, and we're really changing pieces of the puzzle. So the way the toolkit, for instance, for houses is designed is the facade is adjustable, but the chassis interior of the building has to stay fixed. And so we're changing only the pieces of the puzzle. We're obviously centralizing design governance across the business, and we are integrating it further with our Dynamics 365 standard system. The big one is the predictability and consistency and the quality of the design outputs we get on our we release on our sites. And then lastly, we obviously have now ambition, and we started a process of integrating really BIM models to production lines. So the idea is we produced, say, a block of houses with the toolkit, and we can confidently say to timber frame manufacturing, this is fixed, this is not going to change, you can go ahead with production. So just key takeaways, David.
So I think it's just important. In Cairn, we're obviously heavily invested in MMC. As I said, we're touch point in all 7 categories. But the way we work in Cairn, standardization is a key piece to this to make it really effective. You're getting the cost benefits, the quality benefits with MMC, but standardization is the foundation of that, is what we believe. And that's what we showcase today briefly. And I think the biggest thing is through standardization, we've been able to develop really strong partnerships with our trusted partners, and as Jakub mentioned, with the digital toolkit, etc., just kind of reinforcing back into the partner's product to help them grow as well, and strengthen the MMC right across Cairn. So that's us. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.